Have you ever met someone who seems older than their age, not in looks, but in the way they think, act, or carry pain in their eyes? They're the kind of people who were forced to grow up before they were ready. And while the world praises their maturity, deep down, they're often the ones who never really got to be a child. This is the psychology of a child who grew up too fast. You see, childhood is supposed to be the time when you feel safe, when mistakes don't define you, when you can cry without shame, and when someone else carries the weight of the world for you. But not everyone gets that kind of childhood. Some kids learn early that no one's coming to save them. They become the caretaker, the problem solver, the emotional sponge for their parents, their siblings, their whole world. And while everyone else sees them as so mature for their age, inside, something quietly breaks. Because growing up too fast isn't strength, it's survival. When you grow up too fast, you start to confuse responsibility with love. You believe that in order to be accepted, you must earn it by being useful, helpful, or perfect. You stop being a child and start becoming someone who takes care of everyone else. Think about it. The little girl who cooks dinner because her mom is too tired. The boy who hides his sadness because men don't cry. The teen who keeps the peace in a house that's always at war. They learn early. If I'm good, maybe things will stay calm. That's not childhood, that's emotional self-defense. Here's what most people don't realize. When you grow up too fast, your body becomes an adult, but your heart stays stuck in survival mode. You learn to avoid asking for help. You don't want to be a burden. You overthink everything because you grew up walking on emotional eggshells. You struggle to relax because peace feels unfamiliar, even unsafe. And when someone finally shows you kindness, part of you doesn't know how to accept it because you spent your whole life being the strong one, not the one who gets cared for. Point 1. You learn to parent yourself before you even understand what that means. You tell yourself, I'm fine. You keep your emotions locked away. You scold yourself for being too sensitive. You might even start treating your own feelings the way your parents treated theirs, with neglect. But the truth is, no child should have to be their own parent. When you skip that stage of being taken care of, it's like building a house without a foundation. It might stand strong for a while, but one emotional earthquake, and everything shakes. Point 2. You become hyper-independent. You don't trust others to handle things. You'd rather carry all the weight yourself than risk being disappointed. You say, it's okay, I got it, even when you're falling apart inside. Hyper-independence looks strong from the outside, but in reality, it's a trauma response, a way of saying, I've learned that needing people leads to pain. Image 4, the child behind a wall. So you build walls instead of connections. You confuse being alone with being safe. And slowly that isolation starts to eat away at you, because deep down, every human being still craves comfort, care, and warmth. Point 3, you struggle with identity. When you grow up meeting everyone else's needs, you forget to ask, what do I want? Who am I really? You might become a people pleaser, constantly adapting to fit others' expectations. You might chase achievements, not because they make you happy, but because they make you worthy. But here's the painful truth. The approval you're chasing is the love you never got. You're not trying to impress others. You're trying to prove to your younger self that you were enough all along. Point 4, you find it hard to rest or feel safe doing nothing. Because when you were young, rest wasn't an option. Maybe home was chaotic. Maybe peace never lasted. So your nervous system learned to always stay alert, waiting for the next problem, the next argument, the next explosion. Now, as an adult, you might feel anxious when things are calm. You'll create busyness, overthink, or find something to fix just to feel normal again. That's not laziness or weakness. That's your inner child still standing guard. But here's the good news. Healing is possible. Even if you grew up too fast, you can still learn what it means to feel safe, loved, and cared for. Not for what you do, but for who you are. It starts by slowing down. by giving yourself the permission you never had as a child, to rest, to feel, to be imperfect. By learning to say, "I need help," and realizing that it's not weakness, it's being human. It's okay to unlearn survival. It's okay to not have it all together. It's okay to let your inner child breathe again. Because the person you became, strong, capable, independent, deserves to finally feel peace too. So here's the takeaway. If you grew up too fast, it wasn't your fault. You did what you had to do to survive. But survival isn't the same as living. Now your mission is to build a life where you don't just endure, you exist. Where you're not just responsible, you're also free. Where you can finally let the child inside you rest, laugh, and heal. You've carried the world for long enough. Now it's time to put it down. If this message hit home, it's because your heart recognized itself in these words. So pause, reflect. Think about the child you once were and what they truly needed. And if this video spoke to you, share it with someone who might need it too. Drop a comment and tell me which part of this story felt the most like you. Because sometimes healing begins the moment you realize you were never alone in your pain. And remember, you're not broken for growing up too fast. You're just learning, finally, that you don't have to anymore.